Okay, next up on the agenda is public comments and questions. We have a lot of folks here, so I'm just going to lay out the ground rules. We're going to give everybody 3 minutes to speak. We're not going to be responding to your comments. This is for people to voice their opinions. And we're going to ask that you only speak once. We're not going to have people coming back up because they forgot something. So I think that's pretty clear. You're working the clock. Yeah, sure. Can I have a motion to set these ground rules I just reiterated? Have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right. The floor is open. Yes.
I don't know.
My name is Barbara Mary Catherine Monahan. I live at 30 Pinckney Road. I mentioned all those 3 names in front of my last because they're all for saints, not people. I was raised Catholic and baptized in that church. And I'm speaking to a proclamation that was read in last council meeting about, from who are they called? Amnesty. Okay. I ask council not to presume it can speak for or represent me in any international or religious conflict. I did not intend and I do not plan to hand you my voice in either of those arenas. I trust you to represent me in all things Red Bank. You have my support, cooperation, and confidence in running this town. I felt a negative and visceral alarm as Ms. Shanley read the proclamation during last council sessions, and I have been wrestling with understanding and explaining to myself why. Calling for peace and ceasefire in any world conflict is noble. I tremendously admire Ms. Shanley's brilliance, eloquence, and passion for Amnesty International. I admired their purpose and dedication. When I think of the warring in Holy Land, I weep for the victims, and right along with God, there is no escaping the fact that this war is religious. There's no escaping the kinship and love I have for Jewish people since before I even have memory. I've considered Palestine a personal enemy of mine and my beloved friends since I am in the 4th grade. I baptized both of my Jewish girlfriends, one of whom kept kosher and went to yeshiva school in my apartment's small bathroom after a 1st grade Sunday school nun informed me that while I might make the cut, neither of my best friends would ever have a chance to see God. Their fate was sealed because they hadn't been baptized Catholic. My mom said she didn't think this was true, but we girls decided it was best, just in case, be on the safe side, and so it was done. We all felt better after this action. I was blessed to live in an incredibly diverse neighborhood and go to a school and with parents who advised me, be it Italian or European, whoever place, when you go to their house, you eat what they eat and you pray what they pray. I'm done?
You did. Sorry.
I didn't say that.
You can see, by the way, the clock is here, so you can monitor your progress. Yes. Hi, George.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council neighbors. My name is Georgina Shanley, 115 Harding Road, Red Bank, New Jersey, 07701. And I think the previous speaker, I respect what she has to say, and I think there's a very big difference between being a Zionist and an Israeli supporter of Benjamin Netanyahu and a Jewish person. There's a difference. And I think just because somebody disagrees with the government and the government policies, it doesn't mean that that person is anti-Semitic. I've been the coordinator for Amnesty International in South Jersey for over 30 years, and I'm here to ask you to pass a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza to end this cruel, it's not even a war, massacre against mostly women and children.
I'm going to ask everyone to please be quiet. Everyone has their chance to speak.
Yeah. What Hamas did on October 7th was unspeakable. It was a terrorist attack. There's no question about it. And I grieve with all of the families who lost people and all of those who are missing. My husband is Jewish. I'm not anti-Semitic. But I am for human rights. And I am for peace. And I am for justice. And I think most Jewish people and their heritage and their culture would agree with that. All the ceasefire resolution is to do with is to stop the cruel attacks on civilians. 70% women and children. 1,300 people were killed, and that's an incredible loss. 30,000, mostly women and children, have been killed, and it's still ongoing. And many more are starving to death. We're asking to stop this bombing of civilians, to release the remaining hostages that are kept in dungeons or wherever the heck they're kept. They don't deserve to be there. They're innocent people. And also, we're asking for humanitarian aid. How can we watch people starve to death or die from disease? It's inhuman. And our money, we are paying with our taxpayer money for the weaponry, and 92% of the weaponry is coming from the United States. So we do have a vested interest, not only morally, as citizens of this country, but also as taxpayers of this country. This thing has to end. Netanyahu said he's not going to finish it until there's no Palestinians left.
Once again, I'm going to ask you to please be quiet. We're going to have to clear the room. We're going to respect everyone's. Thank you.
Whatever anyone thinks or believes here, the First Amendment prevails. So if you like what people have to say otherwise, you just want to keep order. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, fellow.
Good evening. My name is Doug Sagel. I'm Rabbi of Rumson Jewish Center Congregation B'nai Israel. We are a historic congregation whose roots are right here in Red Bank. I also represent tonight the Jewish Federation in the heart of New Jersey, representing Monmouth and Middlesex. I am chair of the Jewish Community Relations Council, whose mandate is to build genuine and lasting ties with people of all faiths and no faiths in our community. I recognize my colleague and friend, Rabbi David Harrison. I want to be clear about two things. I and the institutions of which I am a part cherish the principles of free speech for all. I thank you as council members for supporting the right of all citizens. I and the institutions I represent fervently believe in, encourage peace-minded people of good faith and goodwill to affirm that the suffering of all innocent people, Israelis and Palestinians alike, must be addressed by the community of nations, and the actual perpetrators of this horror is Hamas. I must also say, unlike many in this room, I spent part of my last summer marching in the streets of Jerusalem against the policies of the Netanyahu government. I was an early supporter of the organization Rabbis for Human Rights, which seeks justice for all. That being said, I rise to strongly oppose this resolution. On October 6th, there was a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. On October 7th, on a holy day in Israel, where many were at prayer, Hamas violated the ceasefire, attacking Israel, massacring over 1,300 Israelis, raping countless women, carrying out hundreds of executions, beheadings, and burning of people while still alive. Hamas, the ruling authority in Gaza since 2006, has used the millions of dollars poured into the country by the nations of the world not to build hospitals, homes, shelters, and infrastructure, but to buy and build weapons of war, build hundreds of miles of underground military tunnels, and expensive villas for Hamas leaders abroad. This war would end today if Hamas returns all hostages and surrenders to world authorities. This would immediately solve the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and free Gazans from the murderous regime that has destroyed any hope for a good and prosperous future. Where has been the concern of the world for the plight of the Palestinian people living under the brutality of Hamas? Where has been the concern of the Arab nations and their willingness to embrace their Palestinian brothers and sisters? Rather, they have been barred. This smacks of hypocrisy. The world should demand today in one voice that Hamas release the hostages they have held. Thank you.
Yes? Yes. Just put your hand up, by the way, if you want to speak afterwards, and I'll try to call it a flip.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Rabbi David Harrison, and I live here in Red Bank on Hudson Avenue, and I'm the rabbi at the synagogue. I'm the rabbi at the synagogue just down the road, next door to the YMCA. I'd like to start by discussing two very important Jewish principles. The Torah teaches us that all human life is paramount. We learn from the story of creation that all people, every person, is created in the image of the divine. In the words of the Mishnah, one who saves a life is like saving an entire world. Peace is also a very important Jewish value. In the Amidah that we recite 3 times a day, we conclude it by asking God, who Osa Shalom B'Romov, who makes peace in the higher realms, make peace among all of us here on earth. However, when an army of Hamas terrorists, heavily armed, come in and attack innocents as they did on that fateful day, we were in the synagogue just down the road, 2 blocks, and it was a real trauma. We heard reports and we all saw the news of them murdering, raping, torturing, burning people alive. Unimaginable atrocities, many of which were live streamed by the Hamas fighters on their GoPros. And that resulted in the greatest number of Jews slaughtered in any day since the Holocaust. And so when such a thing happens, the job of any government, and the job of the Israeli government now, is that it must act to remove those people from power and to prevent them from doing that again. And that's what Israel is doing now. They're trying to create a true ceasefire. But that means getting rid of those people who are shooting missiles and rockets and innocents, murdering, kidnapping, holding people in dungeons. Still now. It didn't start on October 7th. It's been going on for many, many years, ever since Israel pulled out of Gaza, albeit on a lesser scale. And so here's my takeaway point. Once Hamas surrenders and the hostages are returned, the war will be over. Again, once Hamas surrenders and the hostages are returned, the war will be over. 2 quick points on anti-Semitism. Not liking some Jews is not anti-Semitism. We all have those people we don't like. That's human. And also criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitism. The late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs tells a story. He was talking to school children, and he says, "Are you allowed to criticize the government?" Yes. But you also cannot say that the government of Israel has no right to exist. Thank you, everyone.
Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Ann Davis. I live at 153 River Road in Red Bank. I've been a Red Bank resident for over 25 years. And I feel very strongly about this issue. And I have no animosity for anyone. Archbishop Desmond Tutu said, if you are neutral in a situation of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. I stand for peace. I'm here because I support a ceasefire in Gaza and object to the role my government and our tax dollars are playing in the atrocities in Gaza. It is perfectly consistent to absolutely commit to human rights of all Jews living anywhere in the world, and to ask for prosecution for violations of international law committed by any actors, including Hamas, and to deplore, these three things are consistent, to deplore the starvation, slaughter, death, and destruction by Israel against the Palestinians. They're against the Palestinians. They're not just going after Hamas. They want to kill all the, or ethnic all the Palestinians.
Please, if I see you speaking while someone else has the microphone, I'm going to have you removed from the room. Thank you.
It is imperative that United States citizens call out our government for supporting this tragedy and leading us into war. It would be a good thing if Red Bank would join the cities and towns supporting the ceasefire in Gaza. We need widespread calls for ceasefire to stop the killing. And I understand that we're not all united on this. I hope we move toward unity in the future. I think we all want peace, or I hope we all want peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Jack Turkiya. I am a Syrian Jew. I came out of Syria. Basically, it took me 7 years to come out of Syria.
Just state your name and address.
My name is Jack Turkiya. My address is 383 Kirby Avenue in Long Branch, New Jersey. I've been in Israel so many times. I have family in Israel. I have a friend that they have their family got hostage. And as far as ceasefire, or I lived with the Palestinian next door to me in Syria. We gave them houses. They took over our houses. They treated us like a piece of garbage just because we're Jews. I've been in Israel so many times. I have my son currently in Israel, and I think the government of Israel, they were too easy with the Palestinian. Before October 7th, they gave them land. I went to Israel in 2003. They started bombing buses. I was shaking. I have my son with me. My wife isn't there. They were bombing buses, killing civilians. There's no peace with people, the majority of them. And I don't think the city as Red Bank should. All the media is, they lie, bunch of lies. I lived with it for the past 40 years. I've been watching it for the past 40 years. Jews, we want peace. Palestinian, they want to destroy all Jews. No exception. 9-month baby hostage. Why? What did the baby do? To put a baby in the oven. This didn't happen since the Holocaust. Okay? And our government, and even the United States, they're not fully supportive of the Jews or Israel. They're backstabbing the Jews. And it's not right. You have to stand what's right. You don't negotiate with terrorism, you defeat them. And that's what Israel has to do. They have to finish the job. They have to protect, as a part of their duty, to protect the Jews that are living there, 7 million Jews, on the line. And that's what they're doing. We should let them finish their job, defeat these terrorism. We can stand for terrorism. And you saw what happened in 9/11. Amnesty International didn't do anything for the Jews. When my family was there, I came here, I went begging them to help me to get my family out. No, they didn't do nothing. They didn't lift a finger. They didn't lift a finger. Women being raped. Nobody said anything. So when you coming and say human right? There's no, we are human. We are human. We treat them with human. You have to defeat the enemy. You have to defeat the terrorism. And they're terrorists. There's no ceasefire until completely they're defeated. You have Muslim over there living in Israel, Israeli Muslim, they love Israel. Israel Christian, they love Israel. These people, they're not, you call them, they want to kill all the Jews. They want to destroy us. And that's not going to happen. Because we have God on our side. And please do not pass any no ceasefire or nothing. You can't negotiate with terrorism. You have to defeat them. And that's what you have to do.
Hi, my name is Wendy Van Biesen, and I am the partner of Rabbi Segal. I vehemently oppose this resolution for a ceasefire. The Jewish community, which has known incalculable suffering, understands and grieves for the suffering of innocent Palestinians, but also understands that it is Hamas that has perpetrated this horror and continues to do so. And until Hamas is defeated unconditionally, there can be no peace and security for anyone. Israelis, Palestinians. A call for a ceasefire is a precious gift to Hamas and to those who wish to continue to perpetrate this evil. The war will end today if Hamas returned all hostages and surrenders to world authorities. This would immediately solve the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and free Gazans from this murderous regime, which has destroyed any hope for a good and prosperous future. Are those who support this resolution even remotely aware of the brutality Hamas directs against its own people? The slaughter of gay and lesbian Palestinians, the murder of any that dare oppose the regime, hanging them from lampposts and throwing them off roofs. Where has been the concern of the world for the plight of the Palestinian people living under this brutal reality? Where has been the concern of the Arab nations and their willingness to embrace Palestinians seeking a better life? Instead, they bar Palestinians from entering their countries and treat them as second-class citizens. Somehow the concern of the world, and frankly your concern for the plight of the Palestinian people, is only aroused when Israel is involved. This smacks of a bitter double standard. As we speak, Hamas has rejected several ceasefire offers. Once again, Hamas puts its own interests ahead of the people of Gaza. Where is the outrage and protest? The world should demand today in one voice that Hamas release the hostages that they have held since October 7th and release the innocent Palestinian population from their brutal rule. Thank you for your time, Council.
My name is Robert Lubin. I live at 63 Dwight Drive near Asbury Park. I'm embarrassed by this council. To this count, if I make a mistake, please correct me. When Yemen was being bombed by Saudi Arabia and America, did this council call for a ceasefire? There's a war in Ukraine.
Just to be clear, we're not calling for a ceasefire. We don't have a resolution for a ceasefire before us. We're not.
What is the resolution?
There's no resolution.
I thought it was for a ceasefire in Gaza.
We are not presenting a resolution. We are not voting on a resolution. That is not happening. It's nothing on the agenda. It's not being considered right now.
Everyone comes here and says they're talking about a ceasefire.
So,
Correct me.
correct. Yeah, we've had other residents that you've heard have come up and asked for a state, asked the council to discuss a ceasefire. It's not something we've chosen.
Okay, then I'll
to do.
talk to those residents who are asking for a ceasefire. Where was their voice when Yemen's being destroyed? 100,000 people in Yemen were murdered. Was there any concern by these residents for those people? There's a war in Ukraine. There have any concern for the people in Ukraine being murdered? When Assad of Syria was killing 1 million Syrians, did anyone care about those Arabs? I guess not. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to add? Yes.
My name is Jeffrey Benaj, and I live at 308 Oakley Avenue in Long Branch. I would like anyone who considers, who believes that there should be a ceasefire. I would like them to think about it. I would like them to think about what they believe would be accomplished with the ceasefire. Was anything ever accomplished with the prior ceasefires except a temporary pause until the next wave of killing? Now we have the finale of their killing. A massacre, torture, rape, brutality, invasion. It was an invasion. As we all know, when the United States was invaded, not even invaded, just attacked by the Japanese and Pearl Harbor, there was no call for ceasefires. Because you have a ceasefire, we only have to wait for the next time. A worse. And they planned for something much, much worse. By the grace of God, there were only 1,300 people killed. They planned for something much worse. And next time, if this doesn't end in a total surrender and destruction of Hamas, and nobody's looking for innocent Palestinians to be killed. Nobody's interested in that. That's a complete lie. Let's not fool ourselves. What do you really want in a ceasefire? Do you really want to save lives? Or you just want more Jews to be killed in the next time, in the future? Because nothing else there's no other result by such a ceasefire. Let's be honest with ourselves. Thank you.
Sir, can you just repeat your name again one more time?
Jeffrey Menadger.
Jeffrey Mann. Anyone else have any comments? So, Ann here first.
Stephen Heck, 135 Branch Avenue, Red Bank. First thing I want to say to the council is, I am not disappointed with you. I am so proud of all of you. I know all of you. I know each of you to be people of integrity, compassion, and concern for other human beings here in Red Bank and in the world. But I think that it's important that you continue to think about your role as legislators here in Red Bank. And I'm a Jew. I have conflicts around these issues that we've been discussing. But my purpose here is to remind myself and each of you that we turn to the governing body to solve all kinds of problems, and yet as people who are governing, I know that you struggle with the difference between how you may feel as individuals and what your purpose is in governing. Governing is more than just redressing other people's grievances or even our own grievances. So I'm proud of you, I know you, and I'm most proud of the fact that you've chosen to reinforce your role as the governing body here in Red Bank. And I appreciate that, and thank you, all of you, each of you.
Mayor, Council. My name is Joshua Zager, 238 Kemp Avenue. I'm a retired Marine, and I was touched by all the officers that took the oaths of office to the Constitution of the United States. And I applaud you for having public debate in celebrating the First Amendment, but I just want to remind everybody that in the Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution of the United States, Paragraph 2 squarely puts diplomacy in the executive branch of the federal government. So thank you for celebrating public debate, but I urge you to dismiss this Amnesty International representative's calls for some kind of proclamation. It is a call for giving amnesty to murderers who swear to continue to murder. And there will never be peace if you do that. I actually personally consider it anti-Semitic. I'm a Jew as well. Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Anyone else? Any comments? Jim, anyone on the line? Okay, yes, I saw a hand back. Yeah.
It's my first time at one of these, Yasmina Hussein, and I live in Highlands, but I'm not going to give my address because I don't feel safe too. Obviously, there's a lot of tension in this room, and I've heard a lot of things from a lot of people that I think cater to personal beliefs a lot more than facts. And as someone that has also dealt with all of this my whole life, and through my family, I mean, I've had family murdered by Israel in the past as well, so it's not all just one-sided like everyone likes to portray. I'm not going to sit here and debate things or anything like that. All I want to say is, no matter what, more killing and more murder is not the way. Starving people is not the way. Withholding water from newborns is not the way to solve anything. And the only thing I can say is that I, with Amnesty International, would ask that you do think about passing a ceasefire, because more death is not going to solve anything. We've seen ceasefires, okay, they maybe didn't work. We've seen war, and that hasn't worked either. So at least one way you have less death and destruction. And I'm totally against hostages and any sort of hatred in the world. And I think that we're just perpetuating it continuously in this cycle. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Yes, in the back.
My name is Gabriella Green.
Can you just get a little closer to the mic?
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. I'm from Howell. I don't feel comfortable giving my full address either, but I'm a frequent visitor of Red Bank for the past 10 or so years. I've gone shopping. I have friends here. And I've always been excited about the community. I mean, I remember during COVID, the Broad Street was blocked off so kids could go out and draw and chalk. And I feel like as a community that honors families and honors children, it's a real shame that there are so many people advocating for the death of over 12,000 children in Palestine. And it's extremely heartbreaking seeing all of this death and destruction, and I completely agree with the woman before me that it's not something that you should really debate over, because death on either side is wrong. But there's no solution in just bombing and starving and dehydration and just unnecessary killing and torture. And I agree that the ceasefire may not be a permanent solution, but it will bring out a possible permanent solution with the fact that the whole world is currently watching what is unraveling right now. Nobody is going to stand by if there's more death and destruction after a permanent ceasefire is enlisted. There are hostages on both sides, there are casualties on both sides. Nobody is arguing about that who's calling for a ceasefire. They simply want to stop any more hostages and any more casualties so that we can work towards a better solution other than just constant death and destruction. And it's just extremely heartbreaking as an American citizen knowing that my tax dollars are going towards something that I stand so strongly against, that over 50% of Americans stand so strongly against. And it's not anti-Semitic to want peace. It's not anti-Israeli, or it's not an attack on anybody just to want a ceasefire and to want peace for people. And, you know, I saw that on February 25th, the north of Gaza is determined to be fully starved out. And just thinking about what those people are going through, thinking about starving to death, I mean, that's unheard of over here in America. And just imagining that is just so heart-shattering, and I just don't want to continue our tax dollars going to that. And I know I'm not the best at talking. I don't do public speaking, but I just really wanted to share my opinion and share that I don't see any solution coming about with just bombing and death and destruction. And I think a permanent ceasefire is our solution to a better, more permanent solution after that. And I stand completely with what Georgina was saying and Amnesty International. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Dan Rosette. I'm Director of Community Relations at Jewish Federation in the heart of New Jersey, from East Brunswick, New Jersey. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I do want to correct some misinformation here. First of all, over 250,000 tons of humanitarian aid has entered the Gaza Strip, most stolen by Hamas, which is why the innocent people of Gaza are short of water, medicine, food, and the like. Israel has provided over 10% of its water to the Gaza Strip, even though they are no longer responsible for the Gaza Strip since 2005. I'd like to correct that as well. I also would like to correct some of what was said here about quote-unquote indiscriminate bombing and over 30,000 Palestinians killed. First of all, that number includes Hamas combatants. That includes about over 11,000 Hamas combatants. It includes also Palestinian civilians who act as spies for Hamas to report on locations of IDF forces in the Gaza Strip. So we can't just throw out that number, 30,000 Palestinians killed. Yes, there are innocent people in Gaza being killed. It is horrible. But I'm going to reiterate what was already said. Hamas is responsible for the people of Gaza. There are over 425 miles of tunnels in the Gaza Strip. None of the innocent Palestinians are allowed to enter the tunnels in the Gaza Strip because Hamas has clearly said, and don't take my word for it, this is on the internet, everywhere you want to look, Hamas officials have clearly said that the tunnels are for them only and that the United Nations is responsible for all other Palestinians. So, if you're worried about the Palestinians, then you're looking in the wrong direction when you look towards Israel. Israel has taken unprecedented measures to limit the amount of innocent Palestinians being killed, civilians. This is war. War is hell. War is ugly. I've experienced it. I know firsthand. War, people die in war. Civilians die in war. It is like that in every single conflict in the history of the world. But the IDF has taken measures that no other army in the world has taken to prevent or at least limit civilian casualties. That includes phone calls made to the Palestinian people in Gaza, millions of leaflets warning of an attack coming. What army warns its enemy that they are going to attack? Israel does that. Israel uses precision weaponry that are able to hit a target through a window. Okay, I'm giving you one example. No other army in the world has done that, including the great army of the United States, which I have beyond utmost respect. So facts matter, and we can't just throw out numbers like it doesn't mean anything. Thank you very much.
Anyone else have anything to add? No? Oh, okay, we have some of that. Really close to the mic.
Can you hear me now? Okay. My name is Mackenzie Donnelly. I also don't feel safe sharing my address, so I will not be. I'm going to provide some context. It's Lincroft, 07738. For decades, Israel has imposed upon Palestinians a violent, inhumane, and criminal system of domination, oppression, and control. Some of the language here I have borrowed directly from Amnesty International, whose job it is to investigate and interrogate international humanitarian law and breaking international humanitarian law. Israel's governmental and militaristic regime has, for decades, exercised control over Palestinians' rights. This regime has, breaking international law, denied Palestinians who have lived and belonged on and of the land for generations nationality and status. It has dispossessed, confined, isolated, restricted movement, imposed violent and unjust military checkpoints, controlled allocation of and access to resources such as farmland, water, electricity, gas, health services, medicine. Subjected to criminal Israeli law, policy, and practice, Palestinians, including children, have for decades experienced home demolitions, forced evictions, surveillance, detainment, torture, sexual violence, murder, etc. Under occupation and a racist military judicial system, their rights are further violated. This is the criminal and abusive system of settler occupation and apartheid Palestinians have lived under for decades. This genocide has lasted for decades. Now, Israel has murdered at least 30,000 Palestinians, 30,000. At least 12,000 of those are children. And children cannot be part of Hamas. They are children. Children. 12,000 children. Really feel that. Feel it. Daily, I mourn Hind, a 5-year-old child who was trapped in a car for days with the decomposing bodies of her relatives, her refugee relatives, whom the Israeli military murdered in yet another war crime before they killed her too. Hind contacted the Palestine Red Crescent Society begging for help. When a Red Crescent crew arrived to help Hind, the Israeli military killed the responders. Daily, I mourn Sidra, a 7-year-old girl who was mutilated in death by an Israeli missile. If you have witnessed the photograph of her mutilated body, it must burn incessantly in your brain like it does in mine. I mourn the premature babies who could not survive evacuation of a hospital the Israeli military bombarded and invaded, found decomposing, eaten by worms, blackened by mold, and mauled by stray dogs. I mourn Muhammad, a 7-year-old boy in the West Bank who died from cardiac arrest after being chased by Israeli occupation forces. Fear killed Muhammad. Fear of Israeli occupation forces. This didn't happen in 2023 or 2024, in 2022.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you for listening to us. My name is Joel Weissglass. I live in Farmingdale, New Jersey. Lots of ways of looking at this. Clearly, after what I've just heard, it makes me wonder if Amnesty International is not now an anti-Semitic institution. But I think that's not the issue at the moment. Certainly the facts, as Mr. Rosetta has pointed out, are different than what's been presented. Certainly, if you had a bomb in your house, a time bomb in your house, wouldn't you do everything possible to get it out? Clearly, there's no question in light of October 7th that Hamas is a time bomb. If we had left the ceasefire, if we had a ceasefire, let Hamas still be operative. It's just a question of when they're going to blow up again. It's that simple. They had a ceasefire. Third thing, we're supposed to have had Israel, I'm sorry, this is me. We're supposed to have had control of Gaza. If you were in control of Gaza, would you really allow 55 miles of tunnels to be built and you would have no idea? We weren't in control. Israel was not in control. It had given the property to Hamas in 2006 or so. And the first thing they did was destroy the garden buildings so that Hamas, so that the Palestinians could not create the successful economic structure that Israel had intended for them to do. So the question isn't can ceasefire stimulate peace? I think the fact is that the only thing we can do is to work toward peace, be strong toward peace, because that truly is what all of us, Jews and Palestinians, want. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments on this or any topic? Yes.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Artie Schwecke. I live in West Long Branch. And I just wanted to remind some of the people that are supporting a ceasefire that the Palestinians never recognized Israel's right to exist. They still don't recognize Israel's right to exist. They said they want to repeat October 7th again and again and again. They're chanting to the river, to the sea. They don't believe that Israel has any right. They turned down 5 offers to create their own state through, all the way, at least 50 years ago, all the way back to the 1920s when they first started, when that was first presented to them. So I just want to remind everybody about that the Palestinians don't want peace with the Israelis, that they want all of Israel. They don't believe that Israel has any right to exist. So there's no negotiating with people that all they want to do is destroy you. So that's really all I have to say. I just want to remind everybody about that.
Do we have any other comments? No? Yes.
Hi, good evening. I'm actually a resident of Eatontown. My name is Jennifer Saror. I come from a mixed background. My dad's from Lebanon, my mom's American. I know a lot about the Arab culture, and it's all beautiful. I grew up with Arab food, the Arab language, appreciation for the Middle East. I want to comment that anyone who thinks that Israel is committing a genocide really needs to get some classes, because I've never heard of a country committing genocide that gave that country, Palestine as you call it, food, tons of aid. I never heard of a country committing genocide, quote unquote, that allowed for corridors to be open so that innocent Palestinians, truly innocent Palestinians, can walk through. I've never heard of a country committing genocide that didn't over and over and over again in our soul and in our heart as Jewish people believe in the sanctity of life all over. Anywhere you go, any Jew will tell you, we believe in the sanctity of human life. We would never harm anybody. And yet, the people that are accusing Israel of genocide say Hamas are their freedom fighters. And they only wish death and destruction for anybody who considers themselves a Jew or even not a Jew. And they consider death and destruction for their own people. They don't care. They do not care about Palestinian people. If they did, they would put their arms down now and return all of the hostages. Jewish, Israeli, foreigners, hostages, Americans, we're all who knows? Tell Hamas to stop. Tell them to stop, and Israel will stop. Trust me. Trust me. My uncle is a very high-powered person in Israel. And if Israel wanted this war to end, it would be over. And it's only going on because Israel allows it to go on. If Israel wanted this to be ended, it would be done. Israel is a superpower in the Middle East, okay? So stop it. Stop saying genocide. Stop saying human rights. We all want human rights. turn to Hamas.
Hi, I'm Michael Shrecki, West Long Branch. I just want to address one thing here and everybody speak. I was in Israel about a month ago on a mission, and going through the kibbutzes and going through the atrocities that we face as a nation, because we consider ourselves that that's our land, even though we love America, that's also our country. But I want to address the fact that Amnesty and all, they really have a short memory, that 2 million Arabs live as Israeli citizens in Israel proper, that are doctors, lawyers, businessmen, business owners, etc., etc. You know, they've thrown around the word genocide simply because it is a direct anti-Semitic slant against Jews. We suffered the worst genocide in modern history. So they're throwing around a term to attack us, to let us remember that in the early 30s, because people don't even think about it, the early 30s throughout Europe, Jews were murdered, brutally murdered throughout all countries, most countries in Europe, prior to the Nazis. The Nazis, as somebody said earlier, it was only the icing on the cake that atrocities were started. People should read the history. The reason why I love history, and I recommend it for most people to read. You'll get to like people if you read about countries, if you read about their cultures, if you read about everything. But the bottom line is people are very short-sighted. We've discovered that Red Cross is a horrible organization, anti-Semitic. We're seeing Amnesty now, horrible organization, and we're seeing all these people come out and boast about what Israel's atrocities are. But we're also taking the figures from Hamas. Now Hamas is being respected as an organization to give us statistics and data. These are brutal murderers. If America were attacked, would America go in and defend their country? I hope so. We did. We were attacked on 9/11. And we did go in and attack. Did the world, in all respect to you councils and all around the country, no disrespect intended, but did the world sit around and judge what Israel should and shouldn't do? We don't want. I have friends, one of my best friends in the world is a Muslim. And I respect the cultures of all people. I've traveled the world and I've gotten along with everybody. That's my reputation. I have no animosity towards Muslims or Palestinians. I was in Jenin many times working with Palestinians, arm in arm. So I have no intent, but Hamas is an organization that wants us eliminated. And by the way, who crossed the border were regular local citizens from Gaza who joined in on the celebration of killing Jews.
Comments? No, can I have a motion to close the public comment? Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everybody. Listen, as I've said before, and many of you are hearing this for the first time, this is an incredibly complex issue. We heard a lot of passion from people. I just want to reiterate, first of all, thank you all for being respectful and listening to everybody and giving everybody a chance to speak. It's the foundation of our democracy, and it is much appreciated from where I'm sitting. We were elected this council during a pretty divided time in Red Bank. I'm not looking to go back to division. We're looking to unify and take care of the things that we were elected to do, like fix Marine Park, which was ruined in Sandy, and buy a new DPW building, which the guys who just retired, by the way, are not going to be happy about that, by the way. Our DPW building's been in trailers for 20 years or 15 years. So we're looking to get back to the governance of Red Bank. Yes. That's our yeah, so let's Start over there. Christine, you got anything to add?
Just a couple of good reports. Last night was actually the first meeting this year of the Historical Preservation Commission. Really empowered by their ordinance, and just wanted to thank all of the commissioners and two more will be added over this evening. Various things that we and also just a quick note to residents who are interested or non-residents this evening. There is a downtown group cleanup that happens approximately a month or so in kickoff. The next one going to take place on March 6th. They meet at 8:25 a.m. at 50 Broad Street. And if you're interested in participating, you can find more information at github.eco.eco.
Good evening as well. I'd like to thank the Clean Water Action and Disposal Committee and the Environmental Commission for bringing their efforts to save businesses money, saves us from having extra stuff that is disposable that's going out. And I want to give a shout out to the Ben's refrigerator floor that is generally full of pumpkin packets. Well, you get a chance to get a break from that. And just to say that the Environmental Commission team will be out there doing education to the businesses and general seminar promotion practical events. Special thanks to Greg for Thanks.
Ben, you got anything to add?
Sure, Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to react a little bit to the comments tonight, and that I think you summarized pretty well where I'm at on this whole thing. I had 3 presentations and 1 meeting on the topic. It's an unspeakable mess. I really don't think that this governing body should get involved in the international issues. We got elected to do a job. Red Bank Grant is hiring for our summer camps. Summer camp, please go to our website. Using 1524, apply online, go to our website. Number 3, summer camp program will be opening on March 1st for registration, children's ages 13 through 4. Next announcement. Spring youth track and field is still open. Program on Mondays, 7:30. And we also have a spring break inclusive field trips. We are announcing 2 field trips for spring break for children. All ages eligible children must go sign up with a budget. For those of my announcements from our Parks and Recreation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben.
I want to thank Ben.
Hi, we had a library meeting tonight, obviously I wasn't there, so I'm here, so I never heard of that. But we did have a great press conference this Wednesday at the library, the President and the Commissioner communications about the access to the internet, which is the connectivity program. Helps 1 in 10 children in New Jersey.
10 families.
1 in 10 families, that's right, in New Jersey. And 1 in 4 in our district, which is really important. It's in the budget right now. It's been going through Congress many times. And we're hoping that it gets passed. So it's great. Congressman showed up right back for us. It's very honored to be there. On another note, on a health note, which you all know There's a women's affair planned at Red Banks Two River this Saturday. It will be from 10 to 12:30 in the Two River Theater Library, like Two River Theater lobby. That's Scarlet Letters playing there. The lead partners are Meridian Riverview Medical Center and the Parker Family Health Clinic. There would be a lot of additional resources provided by 180 Church Drive, Brookfield Wellness Center, lots of other people from throughout the community. Hackensack Meridian Medical Center will be offering screens, including blood pressure, pulse, cholesterol, glucose, BMI, and stroke risk. There'll be speakers there at 10:30. There'll be Heart Health in You for Women with Dr. Sani. 11 a.m. Navigating the Pelvic Floor. Women's ICU for gynecologist with Dr. Sansom. And 11:30, what you know about screening for breast cancer. Parker Family Health Clinic and the Montana Health Department will provide free COVID vaccines to the community there. The first 20 people to be vaccinated will also receive a $20 Visa gift card. If you have previously received vaccinations, please bring your vaccination card. For the first people that show up, they'll be offered free raffle tickets to upcoming productions at Pitcher River, 1,000 Days, and Gem of the Ocean. And they'll also, I wanted to thank Hackensack Meridian for sponsoring this convention along with Monmouth University. That's it. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who showed up tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. For River Center, the Red Bank Classic 5K is going to be held June 15th. If you'd like to register or become a sponsor, you can visit redbankclassic.com. I know that Councilman Barnes mentioned our Parks and Rec Egg Hunt. In addition to that egg hunt, we also have a downtown egg hunt, which is held Saturday, March 30th from 1 to 3 p.m. It's called the Great Red Bank Egg Hunt. You can find out more information about both of those events by looking at social media for Red Bank River Center. Pivoting over to our schools and some recognitions. I didn't have this planned, but I do see that student, Madeline Sanchez, back there. Everybody? I want to congratulate Madeline once again. I had the honor of being there this week for the RBR Board Ed meeting where Madeline was justly recognized for her essay that she wrote of overcoming and being a student that spoke up to a system and doing the right thing and finding that Maria agreed to set something right. And it was really lovely to be there in that board meeting and see that same body recognize you for your courage and the scholarship that you received from YMCA. So congratulations, and that was a high schooler who is balancing a job and school and all of their responsibilities, who still keeps up on their town happenings and finds a way to make it to meetings, so thank you. I also wanted to recognize that our Assemblywomen, Peter Paul and Donalyn, visited our district and they toured our primary school. And they were there as guests, and they were thoroughly impressed by our students, our faculty, and our facilities. Our grade 3 string students welcomed them with a concert, and they got a tour of the building. I also wanted to congratulate Bree Hartman. She's a Red Bank Middle School math teacher, and she was recognized by the RAT 95.9, and she was recognized as a teacher who rocks. And you can visit her website, the Red Bank School website, to learn more about her and the program. Bree's also going to be joining us in the fire department. She's going to the academy right now, College G, so I'm really excited to have another woman in the fire department with me. And that's, I think, everything else was covered. We have a lot going on in this town, as you can see. We've got a lot of balls in the air, so thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Jimmy,
I wanted to also congratulate our promotional officers tonight. It was great to do that, and I want to recognize Chief McConnell for recommending these officers for promotion. As a manager, I was happy to put that forward in the Department's Council. It's great for the department, and it's great to see that we're enhancing our leadership in the department, and making sure that we are putting the promotions in place to continue what we need to do in the police department there. So I'm happy that we were able to do that tonight. I met with the CFO this week to discuss our capital budget, and we'll also be putting together a budget ad hoc committee with 3 council members to continue to prepare the 2024 budget. So I'll be reaching out this coming week to discuss our council. I met with our borough engineer, Cindy, to discuss our 2024 road program. So we met this week, and we came up with a good roadmap for that, and we'll be meeting on Monday as well to discuss that further. And I'll be asking Councilwoman Casey Blackwood to join me in that meeting. So I haven't talked to you yet about it, but keep that scheduled for Monday. I also wanted to thank Freddie Boynton for bringing the concern of the 4-way stop at River Street and Lincoln Avenue. At last meeting, I discussed this with the chief and asked that our borough engineer assess the intersection to make sure that their recommendation is based on data. And I know that the borough engineer has already asked the chief for some information at that intersection. So I'll be prepared to provide a full report on that at our next council meeting. Also wanted to recognize resident Jimmy, who came to the last meeting as well to discuss Sunset Avenue and the remediation of that site there. And I discussed with our director of community development, Shauna, to prepare a resident letter to the homeowners of those properties that surround Sunset to give an overview of the project, the site remediation, how we're receiving the funding, and the timeline of that project so that the residents are aware of that. And Ingenuity, we met as well this week to discuss the restoration of the lead service test pitting areas on the west side of town and the phase 2 lead service line replacement project as well. Also had a meeting yesterday with the Community Block Development Grant Program in Monmouth County. It was our reorganization meeting there. They appointed me as the chairman of the CDBG program for this year in 2024. So the borough will continue to look at possible 2024 submissions for grant opportunities. And speaking of grants, between February and March, the borough has been working with Millennium Strategies, who is our grant writer for the borough, to submit for a number of grants that range from police, recreation, open space, and looking to offset the impacts of our general fund and accomplish more and more projects throughout the borough. And currently, we have a job posting online. It's on the New Jersey State League of Municipalities for a mechanic and fleet foreman. We're looking to replace Rich Hardy, who was honored today, with a foreman position. And we also thank him for his 30 years of service to the borough.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Mayor, we have an executive session, which is potential litigation related to cannabis business licensing.
Okay, so then I'm going to make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
So for the public's benefit, our executive session will last approximately 20 minutes. There will be no action taken afterwards, and the council will merely adjourn the meeting at the time.
So I'm just going to ask everyone again, thank you for being here, but through the room for our executive session. Thank you.